Hi class, we're back again for another Prince Jen episode. We're going to be reading chapter
29.
Today we had a good day. I had a good workout. I got a new kettlebell, and so I tried that out this morning. And then just to get out of the house, we drove about 45 minutes to Yuba City to Dunkin' Donuts to get some donuts and some drinks in the drive-thru. So you know you really are going stir crazy when you do that. So this chapter is called Voyaging Moon Breaks a Bargain, The Mad Robber Offers a Plan, King Natha and King Jen. Hush, hush, it won't happen. Voyaging Moon put a hand on Jen's lips. Do you think I'd keep a bargain like that? Natha gave me what I wanted. He'll get nothing back for it. I wanted you with me, and so you are, Voyaging Moon went on. I wanted time. We have some. Not much, but if I can stretch it out, we might have a chance. The longer you stay alive, the better chance we'll have. How can there be any chance at all, Jen said. Time? Time for what? Natha calls himself King of Tang, Voyaging Moon said. He isn't. I've heard things since I've been here. The North Province is rallying against him. It started last winter. One village held him off. That threatened the other villages. Now half the districts are up in arms. He's had to send most of his warriors north. They put down one uprising and another starts. He's bitten off more than he can chew. King? Yes, and Chang'an and some of the outlying towns, even there, he's stretched too thin. That's all as may be, Mafu put in. What's happening someplace else doesn't do anything for us here. The turtle has the palace. Worse, he has us inside it. So, the more delay, the better, Voyaging Moon said. She turned back to Jen. You have more friends than you think. Not all the officials took up with Natha. Some turned out surprisingly honest and spoke against him. It cost their lives. A lot of others are on your side, but they're too terrified to say anything. Once word spreads that you're here, they could try to help you. The palace troops have been disarmed. If they can get their weapons back, if, Jen said with a bleak smile. So many ifs. If I hadn't fished Master Fu out of the river. If we hadn't gone searching for Li Kuang. And still another if. If you can't put off Natha? If he forces marriage? I've thought of that too, Voyaging Moon said. He's let me have serving women. I talked one of them into giving me this. The girl reached into her jacket and brought out a dagger. At the ceremony, as soon as I'm close enough to him, No, Jen said. His guards would kill you an instant later. No, I can't let you try. Dear Jen, Voyaging Moon answered, you may not be in a position to say much about it. It's a fine scheme, exclaimed Moxa. I see it now. The wedding ritual cut short. For Natha, in every sense of the word. But the unwilling bride won't be our lovely flute girl. It will be myself. I'll be robed and veiled, Moxa hurried on. Your serving women will help with that, won't they? I'll have the dagger ready at hand. Then I step up to embrace the villain. Voyaging Moon smiled and shook her head. Moxa, you're a lunatic, a courageous one, and we love you. But for one thing, you can't pass yourself off as me, no matter how you dress up. For another, you'll end up dead. For still another, your arithmetic's bad. One captive missing? What will I be doing in the meantime? What does Natha have in store for the rest of you? Correct, said Mafu. This scheme's ridiculous on the very face of it. If we try anything, we try to get ourselves out of here. I've been calculating exactly where we are. We aren't near the royal apartments, Jen said. I don't know this wing of the palace. I do, Mafu said. Inner chambers, at ground level. Beyond that wall should be the arcades, the gardens of tranquil delight. Utterly simple, cried Moxa. Why didn't you say that before? You forget I was a professional robber before I took up an easier trade. Here, let me have that dagger. Voyaging Moon handed him the blade. At Mox's instruction, Jen and Mafu tore down the draperies covering the wall. Mafu eyed the heavy stones. Robber or not, you can't dig your way through that. Of course I can. Moxa rolled up his sleeves. There's always a weak spot somewhere. If I chip away the mortar, get one stone loose. Jen watched doubtfully as the robber scraped and scratched at the unyielding wall. Mafu glanced at Jen and shook his head. Undaunted, Moxa kept on. The hand of consummate skill, declared the robber, the spirit of patient determination. The blade snapped. Moxa stared, crestfallen. Ah, yes, the hand might have gone at it a little too vigorously. Let it be, Jen said. We can't do anything from inside. We'll need help from the outside. You have serving women, he asked Voyaging Moon. Could they get word to an official we trust? Possibly, Voyaging Moon said. They come in the mornings. I don't know if we dare wait that long. No choice, Mafu said. Keep thinking meantime. Even Moxa might come up with a workable plan. In the lamplit chamber, Jen could not tell night from day. As they settled themselves, Voyaging Moon brought out the flute and quietly played. Jen closed his eyes and listened gratefully, but his heart was heavy. He drowsed, he dreamed the wooden collar hung once again around his neck. He started up. The lamps guttered. The door had flung open. Armed warriors were upon them, seizing Jen, surrounding Voyaging Moon and the others. Stand away! Let him face me! Natha swaggered into the chamber. The bandit glittered in full armor. At his side hung the sword destined for Yuan Ming. Natha put his hands on his hips and looked Jen up and down. His eyes glittered like his breastplate. You told the truth when we last met. If I'd have known you were a royal whelp, you wouldn't be alive at this moment. For all that, you served me well. The sword you gave me, unwillingly, but you gave it nonetheless. That sword and I are close comrades. Natha glanced at the weapon. Aren't we, my thirsty friend? Together we rule. Bandit then, bandit now, Jen replied. Your kingdom's narrow as the edge of your blade. Now, if you notice that was figurative language, you are correct. Where it said, your kingdom's narrow as the edge of your blade. I noticed the word as in that sentence, and it compared two things. Natha's kingdom and the narrowness of his sword blade. So because it compares two things and uses the word as, what kind of figurative language is it? If you said a simile, you're correct. Is it? Natha grinned. I don't think so. Oh no, my lad, I don't think so at all. Your gift turned out more interesting than you might have known. I spared your life in exchange for it. That was a mistake. No matter, it will be corrected. You'll soon count yourself among your ancestors. So from that sentence, we can infer that soon Jen will be what? Well, if he's going to join his ancestors and the mistake of not killing him the first time will be corrected, that means that Natha plans to kill Jen in the future. The terror which had threatened to drown Jen in the cavern began rising. Yet as he raised his head to meet Natha's eyes, the tide ebbed and drained away. He could see the man before him as no more than a grotesque, posturing shadow, weightless, without substance. Jen looked at him with contempt and with strange pity. You have already lost. You have lost without knowing it. Do you remember Ping-Er? I thought I failed. Perhaps I did, but others did not. Pebbles stopped the avalanche. In the end, they will break you, and you will break yourself on them. So remember before when the villagers fought back in Ping-Er by making those barriers that were soaked with, that were covered with oil-soaked straw, and then they lit them on fire and stopped Notha from entering the village? Remember that they compared those villagers to pebbles stopping an avalanche. So that's what he's talking about here. Notha's hand went to his sword. Foam flecks came on his lips. Jen thought the man would strike him down where he stood. Notha ground his teeth and drew a great breath. His glance wavered. He turned away to fix his eyes on Voyaging Moon. Lady Shadow behind a screen, you and I have a bargain. Broken, Voyaging Moon said. Broken even as I made it. You'll keep it, Notha said with a cold smile, willing or not. He turned to Mafu and Moxa. You'll follow your master. Mafu shrugged, as I've always done. The sinews of courage, cried Moxa. The heart of devotion will not falter. You think not? Notha said. Poor fools, both of you. Have you seen a man killed? A head roll in the dirt? Oh, you will. You'll smell real blood, then find out how long your bravery lasts. I'll hear you scream for mercy. Let the old woman go, Jen said. She has no part in this. She does, Notha said. I want her alive, a hostage to guarantee the flute girl's good behavior. He motioned to the warriors. Take them. The headsman awaits. Before Jen could embrace his beloved for the last time, he was marched from the chamber. Mafu, Moxa, Plum Blossom, and Voyaging Moon were produced along behind him out of the palace and through the Jade Gate. Men at arms hedged the square. In the pale morning light, a crowd had gathered, held back by spearmen and archers. Many there had seen the young Lord Prince depart happily from the city, and they had cheered him. Now they stood mute with despair. Two of Notha's guards seized Jen, led him a little distance from the gate, and halted him before the executioner. The headsman gestured for the guards to stand aside. He seized the condemned man by the hair and forced him to his knees, then brought up a long-bladed sword. Weapon poised, he tightened his grip on the hilt. Outcries rose from the crowd. The executioner hesitated. Strike! Notha's voice ran out. Sword raised, the executioner stood as if frozen. His eyes had turned from his victim to the far fringe of the crowd. The cry spread, swelling to wild screams. Low rumbling filled the air. The executioner's mouth fell open. He stared in terror and disbelief. The crowd parted. Onlookers flung themselves aside, scattering to make way for a column of horsemen and foot soldiers. The ground shook beneath the tread of the approaching warriors. Unswerving, step by step, they moved across the square. Not men, but statues sprung to life. The warriors were of solid stone. Leading them, his granite features set in grim determination, eyes blazing with the cold brilliance of diamonds, rode Li Kuang. Having struggled from the cavern, obeying the instructions of Master Wu, he and his troop had borne steadily toward Chang'an. Day after day, month after month, in summer sun and winter snow, they held their slow and agonizing course through mountain passes, trackless forests, every inch seeming a mile. Autumn dew had never faltered, nor had Li Kuang lost hope. Now at last Li Kuang had reached his goal. He and his troop pressed forward. At sight of them, Natha's guard attempted to hold them off, raining volley after volley of arrows at the cavalcade. The shafts rattled and glanced off. The warriors never halted their inexorable advance. On they came, while spears shattered against their stone breasts. Horses' hooves and booted feet pounded a relentless rhythm, threatening to crush all who stood in their path. The warriors drew even closer. No beings of mere flesh and blood could resist this massive onslaught, like a glacier on the march. Seeing attack was hopeless and defense impossible, Natha's guards broke ranks and fled. "Strike!" Natha roared again. "Strike now!" But the executioner had already raced away in panic, spitting curses. Natha snatched his sword from his scabbard. Glimpsing Li Kuang, Jen sprang to his feet. By then, Natha was upon him, kicking him to the ground, raising his sword high in both hands to sweep it downward. Has Li Kuang come too late? Will nothing save Jen? Those who care to know what happens should quickly go to the following chapter. So just like last time, I will be posting some questions to respond to on Flipgrid. And I would love if you would get on and say a couple of words in response. It's only about a minute and a half of a clip, but it would be great to hear your voice and hear what you have to say about the chapter. All right, have a good evening, and we will get on to do another one for Tuesday.